you can count on us. This is 7 News in HD.
Complaints of a foul smell coming from an apartment complex in northwest Lawton lead police to a possible meth lab. That's first at 5. Police arrived at the complex on 12th and Gore Boulevard around 7 this morning. They say between the overwhelming smell of ether coming from the apartment and evidence and information obtained during the investigation make them believe that the residents may have been manufacturing meth. Lieutenant Alvin Winham says the toxic chemicals used to make meth are dangerous and highly explosive.
They make them in so many spots, you can't determine where they would make it at, whether it be manufactured in an apartment, hotel room, a residence, a business, anything like that. There's no certain place that they do that at.
Winham says the 3 people have been detained and are being questioned about the possible lab. So far, there have been no arrests. Tune into 7 News at 6 when you'll hear why neighbors say they will never forget that smell and whether police have arrested anyone.
5 to 10 miles per hour by 9 o'clock. Scott?
All right, thank you, Matt. An errant driver not only makes a mess, but also delays construction on Lawton's 38th Street. A driver who apparently went out of his or her way to drive around barricades left deep ruts in the recently poured material. It happened on 1 northbound lane of 38th Street. Previously, one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city.
And this section was poured last night. Contractors stayed around till about 8:30 at night. He had all his barricades up, all his precautions to keep people off, but somebody drove around the signs, came onto the project, drove through this newly placed section.
What's worse, when the driver found he couldn't go any further, he had to back up again on the still wet concrete.
Whoever drove on this went out of their way to drive on it.
Grunman says the procedure for laying roadways is strict, and this particular concrete takes 3 days to dry. Now workers will have to tear it all up and start over. She says had it been the final layer, road work would have been delayed even longer. Problems like this can also cause future bids for the city to come in higher. Family and friends mourn the death this afternoon of an Altus woman killed in a car crash. 33-year-old Heather Copeland was killed on State Highway 5 in Jackson County late yesterday. Troopers say the Copeland's car was parked on the highway when it was rear-ended by a pickup. Copeland was pronounced dead at the scene. A pedestrian who was standing in front of her car was hurt and airlifted to an Oklahoma City hospital. The driver of the pickup was not injured, and troopers say the accident is under investigation. $1 million. That is the bail set for the final suspect in 2 violent home invasions. 36-year-old Leon Edwards was arraigned today in Stevens County. He is one of 3 men charged with the crimes 2 weeks ago in Tillman and Stevens counties. You may remember Edwards was arrested this week in Decatur, Texas, after a gun battle with authorities. His next hearing is set for June 13th. He is currently being held in the Stevens County Jail. The other 2 suspects, Douglas Brown and Christopher Scruggs, are both in custody. Brown made his initial appearance yesterday in Tillman County and is under a $250,000 bond. The jury is deliberating the trial of Del City tow truck driver accused of child neglect. He's accused in the burning deaths of his 3 young children in a recreational vehicle. The panel of 6 men and 6 women began deliberating today. 26-year-old Christopher Dunham did not testify in his defense. In closing arguments, the defense maintains the fire was a tragic accident, but the prosecution asked jurors to convict Dunham. 4-year-old Christopher Dunham, Jr., 3-year-old Crystal Dunham, and 22-month-old Kaylee Dunham died in the January 2011 fire. It's a great day for a bike ride, and that's just what nearly 300 Fort Sill soldiers and civilians did today. They hopped on their hogs and took a ride through Lawton, Sterling, and Elgin for Freedom's Thunder Motorcycle Rally. This is the 7th annual event aimed at the importance of motorcycle safety when roaring down the road. 7 News reporter Jonathan Roselle was there too and learned these bikers take their safety seriously. Jonathan?
Scott, Sergeant Jerry Pickens.
Coming up on 7 News.
A cone-headed idea could cost a teacher her job. The unusual punishment she gave students that has administrators growling. Plus, police bust a man for bearing it all while riding his unicycle. But wait until you hear why he did it.
You may need that rain jacket later on tonight and tomorrow. We'll talk about the rainfall totals and the timings coming up in weather. and we'll be back into the middle 80s, Scott, by next Thursday.
I got to tell you, I'm loving the cooler temperature.
Me too. It's a nice break from that summer weather we had last week.
Yes, sir, it is. Thank you, man.
Welcome.
Just 4 more days of voting until the end of this week's Cash for Schools giveaway by Lawton Chrysler Jeep Dodge and 7 News. While Lawton MacArthur still has twice as many votes as its closest competitor, there has been a shakeup between 2nd and 3rd place. Marlow High School has overtaken Lawton Eisenhower for the number 2 spot. Remember, these votes accrue, so even if you don't win this week, it's important to vote every day for a chance to win in week number 4. Remember to visit KSWO.com to cast your vote. A high school teacher puts her students in the cone of shame. You know, those cones they put on dogs for health reasons. Why she did it and what's going to happen to her.
Follow 7 News on Twitter and Facebook with news and weather updates.
Pets in air carriers might be the next terror threat for flying Americans. Intelligence officials say Al-Qaeda's master bomb maker is coming up with some unusual ideas how to sneak bombs onto planes. U.S. authorities say the latest bomb designs, including implanting explosive devices in pets that would be carried on board aircraft. Al-Qaeda's top bomb maker is also apparently hiding explosives in what appear to be sealed cameras and external hard drives that would explode when plugged into a laptop.
Things that makes him so competent as a bomb maker. He is clearly very innovative. He does have the skills to put together a range of these types of bombs.
U.S. drone strikes against Al-Qaeda in Yemen have been expanded to reduce the threat. Just last night, a strike there killed at least 5 militants. Naked as a jaybird. That is how police describe a man they arrested for riding a unicycle in the Buff. This is police dashcam video showing an officer arresting him Wednesday on a bridge near Houston. Investigators say the former teacher wasn't drunk or impaired.
He liked the way it felt. Really don't know what he meant by that, but that's what he said.
The man is charged with indecent exposure. His bond is set at $1,500. A high school teacher could lose her job after putting her students in a protective dog collar. The science teacher referred to the collar as the cone of shame and used it as punishment. She says it was inspired by the Disney cartoon movie Up and was only meant as a joke. School officials learned about the incident when students posted pictures on Facebook last month. One student who wore the cone says it was just a fun distraction and wasn't meant to embarrass anyone. The teacher is appealing the decision to fire her and has hired an attorney. Coming up, we've all heard how amazing those zinc remedies are for your colds, but are they really? The latest from A to Z. An evacuation at a jail in Tulsa after at least 20 elementary school students are sickened. They were all taken to hospitals after they fell ill during a field trip at the county jail. A Sheriff's Department spokesman says 55 children and 5 adults from an elementary school were visiting the facility when one of the students began feeling ill today just before noon. Then other children began getting sick, complaining of being lightheaded and dizzy. So far, tests have not detected carbon monoxide or other gases. We'll keep you updated. Zinc. We've all seen ads for cold medicines that contain it, but do they really work? In today's MedWatch Minute, Terry Armstrong tells us about the latest research. Here's what the 7 News team is working on for you tonight at 6. Thieves rob convenience stores, a terrible thing, but not all that unusual. But thieves have a new target these days, pharmacies. They're after drugs, of course, but what's unusual is who's doing the robbing. You'll want to see our special report. And the Cotton County man accused of murdering Teresa Spears won't be tried just yet. Why the trial for David Daniels will be delayed. And Justin says the rain is on the way. He'll have your Skywarn 7 forecast coming up on 7 News at 6.